I can't stand anything about you. Just the family will go, so you, old lady, just stay and clean." With these words, Linda hurled insults at me in a tone worse than usual. I felt dizzy with her harsh words. A family trip planned by Linda. We've had our ups and downs, but I believe Linda had finally accepted me as part of the family. How foolish I was to think so. My hopes were shattered, and I felt utterly betrayed. I've been put through so much pain again and again. It's something that should never be forgiven. To take my revenge and make her pay, I started plotting. My name is Laura. I'm 58 years old. I live with my husband William and our son and his wife. William had grown frail and needs care. I was relieved and grateful that our son and his wife lived with us, as it seemed hard to care for William and work at the same time. However, not everything was good. Most of my troubles involved Linda, my son's wife. When David introduced her as his fiancée, she seemed like a nice woman. But once they married and started living with us, I realized Linda was brazen and selfish. Today was another day her actions angered me. When I returned from work and checked on William, it seems he hadn't been fed or changed. Exhausted from work, I had to feed William, bathe him, and put him to bed. These tasks should have been done by Linda, a housewife not working outside, or David, who was just idling at home. But the couple didn't help with caregiving or household chores, leaving me to do everything after work. "You're always trouble because of me. I'm truly sorry." William apologized, struggling to speak. His words pained my heart. "It's not your fault, William. Don't worry about it." I replied with as much kindness as I could muster. The real problem was the son and his wife, who did nothing at home. The reason they neglected household duties was because of Linda. When they first moved in, David was still working, and Linda, being a housewife, had hoped she would help with some of William's care and household chores. However, Linda shook her head. "Why should I be the one to take care of him? Isn't that your job, Laura, as his wife?" I vividly remember feeling dizzy at Linda's words. I have to leave the house for over 8 hours due to work. Leaving William without care during that time is absolutely not acceptable. I tried to persuade Linda, but she never agreed. Initially, I thought of quitting my job to care for him, but soon after, David was fired. Now, I'm the only one supporting our family financially. If I quit my job, William and the couple would be in trouble. I couldn't bear to see my dear family suffer. Linda didn't stop there. She even influenced David. At first, David said, "I'm not working, so maybe I could help with the caregiving?" But Linda scolded him for that. "It's all Laura's responsibility, the caregiving and housework. To start saying you can't do it is utterly irresponsible. We can't allow that." Initially confused by Linda's words, David gradually began to believe they were right. Moreover, Linda convinced him. "We're living fine even without working, so why make unnecessary efforts?" Thus, she made him stop looking for a job. Linda has a strong personality, and according to David, she has always been my guiding light. Trusting in Linda's guidance completely, David has even stopped job hunting and now just relaxes at home. Of course, he doesn't help with any household chores or caregiving. Such a lifestyle is unbearable. I've repeatedly asked them to resume job hunting, or at least help with caregiving and chores. But every time, Linda accuses me of trying to turn David into a servant, saying I'm cowardly for not wanting to do caregiving and housework myself. Trusting Linda completely, David has turned cold towards me. I never thought Mom could be such a terrible person. I'm disappointed. Hearing that was a real shock. I thought I was acting for the family, but my intentions never reached David. Where did I go wrong? Was it a mistake to hope for an easier life by living with them? But life was indeed tough every day. Caregiving takes its toll on both mind and body. Watching William weaken day by day was distressing. I feared what would happen if I became too weak to move. Maybe it was naive to expect living together would ease the worries. Yet I was truly grateful they offered to live with us, and I still am. But enduring such a life physically and mentally has been hard. With more people living together, the household chores have become increasingly difficult. Managing them all alone is just too much to handle. Is it so selfish to want some help? Am I wrong to think this way? Would everything be fine if I just managed better? There's no clear answer, and I'm just getting worn out. Then one day, David, relaxing in the living room, told me about a family trip Linda was planning. Apparently, Linda's parents gave them plane tickets, and the departure was imminent. Maybe a family trip will cheer Dad up. And Mom, you need a break from working hard every day. Those words warmed my heart. I had thought Linda disliked us, even hated living in the same house, but it seems I was wrong. The hotel Linda booked was well equipped for accessibility, suitable for William. She had gone out of her way to find such a hotel. For the first time, I saw a caring side of Linda and thought she might be kinder than I had imagined. But it didn't take long for me to realize that my hope was in vain. On the actual day of the trip, Linda saw me, excited for preparing since the day before, and laughed. Was it so funny that I was excited, despite my age? Confused as to why she laughed, Linda spoke while still laughing. I can't stand anything about you. We're going as a family, so you stay here and clean, old lady. I was taken aback by her sudden words. A family trip excluding me, and I should clean? Does that mean I'm not family? Her attitude and words were so hurtful I could barely stand. Linda, seeing me like this, laughed. Serves you right. I had had enough. Linda had constantly ridiculed and acted selfishly towards me, so she deserved to be punished. That's why I planned a thorough revenge. Okay, have fun then, I said. To this, Linda laughed even more. Oh, are you okay with that? Good. We didn't book a spot for you anyway. If you had insisted on coming, you might have ended up sleeping outside. Hearing Linda's words, I let out a heavy sigh. She never intended to take me on the trip. I was not family to her. I was an annoyance to her. It must be for that reason. I thought I had always carefully protected and cherished my family, including my son and his wife, and William. But only my husband William seemed to have received those feelings. Laura, are you okay? Even William, whose consciousness was clouded by illness, seemed to realize the heavy atmosphere. Feeling sorry for him, I answered as brightly as I could. I'm fine. But William still looked uneasy. They're taking you on the trip, right, William? I asked. Linda replied, Of course. William is part of our family. If at least William could get a change of scenery, that wouldn't be so bad. Then have a good trip. I'll do as I was told and clean while waiting, I said with a smile. Linda, hearing this, said, I appreciate your understanding. But David, who had been watching us, worriedly interjected. Mom, are you really okay with this? Maybe something can be done even now. David interjected, looking worried. However, Linda glared at him and scolded. What? Be quiet. This is revenge on Laura, who always bullies me. Obedient to Linda's words, David said, Okay, and fell silent, not saying anything more. Then the time to leave the house as planned approached. The son and his wife, along with William, hurriedly left the house to catch their flight. I sent them off with a smile. I'm not the type to give up here. I had a special revenge plan in mind. And I sent them off with a smile, just for the sake of implementing it. Now, what should I do? I'd like to make them thoroughly experience hell, a fate just like that. With that thought, I started my work. First, I thoroughly cleaned the house. I took all the furniture out into the yard. There was so much dust, especially where the furniture had been. Honestly, it took half a day just to move everything out, but since the son and his wife wouldn't return for a week, it seemed like a good opportunity. I had taken the week off work, and I thought it would be nice to use this full week for my revenge. After moving all the furniture, I spent about 4 hours vacuuming every corner of the house. A considerable amount of trash came out, so I finished vacuuming each room in several turns, then I mopped the entire house. That's how the first day ended. Since I had moved out all the bedding, including the bed, I decided to sleep on the floor. Since it's just me, there's no point in fretting over the details. Surprisingly, it was quite nice to be able to lie down on the floor without worrying about anyone else. On the second day, I cleaned the areas I hadn't been able to get to, and started looking for a temporary base. There was a weekly mansion not too far away, so I decided to stay there for a while. Next, I found a mover to transport the furniture. Fortunately, it wasn't their busy season, so I found a mover who could transport the furniture by the next day. In the meantime, I polished all the furniture. All this furniture was bought by me. In other words, they're mine. I would never allow the son and his wife to get their hands on them. That's why I was determined to take them back no matter what. Both the furniture and the house were immaculately cleaned. The furniture looked as good as new, and the house seemed as if it had just been built. After finishing what I could do right away, I walked around the newly cleaned house, reminiscing about the past. I had been indebted to this house for a long time. I think I bought it when my career was just starting to take off. Back then, William was still healthy and working, and we talked about supporting each other in the future. It was also the house where David grew up. Walking around, I found traces that held emotional significance. This is from that time, and this is... Just walking and thinking about it fills me with deep emotions. But it was time to say goodbye to this house. I didn't know whether someone new would live here or if it would be demolished, but I probably would never return here again. That night, I slept while thinking about the house. I was sad to leave my spotless, proud home and tears welled up, but this separation was necessary for my revenge. The next day, the movers came. I had them transport everything to the weekly mansion I had arranged, and I left the house at the same time. Then I contacted a real estate agent to sell the house. They promptly assessed it and set a price. Due to the age of the house, the price was much lower than when I bought it, but I didn't care. Selling the house was my primary goal. After entrusting the future to the real estate agent, I began living in the weekly mansion and started looking for a new home. I found a condominium with barrier-free facilities, nearby caregiving services, and other convenient amenities. It seemed like a place where William could live comfortably. I contacted the owner immediately, and they invited me to come see it. I quickly got ready and headed there. The condominium was even nicer than the pictures on the internet. When I arrived, the owner and the real estate agent were there and explained everything carefully. Although smaller than the house I had lived in, it was spacious enough for us to live comfortably. And from now on, it would just be the two of us, without having to consider the son and his wife. The attitude of the owner and the real estate agent was very good. I felt I could trust and entrust them with this matter. When I expressed my positive consideration, they offered it to me at a very reasonable price. I couldn't miss this opportunity. I decided to sign the contract immediately, and the owner seemed quite pleased. They said I could move in the next day, so I decided to move my furniture and belongings then. Everything was going smoothly, almost as if supporting my revenge. I couldn't believe how well everything was working out. But everything was indeed going well. I felt affirmed in my revenge and was in a very good mood, and I resolved to carry out my revenge properly. A week passed since the son and his wife and William left for their trip. Knowing their flight's arrival time, I drove to the airport. Waiting for them at the airport, Linda noticed me first and approached with a laugh. Isn't that Laura? Did you miss not being able to go on the trip? If you like, I can buy you some airport souvenirs. We didn't buy any for you. Linda's mocking attitude. To her words, I replied, I don't need it. It's a waste of money. Then Linda said resentfully, How cheeky. I made a proposal to Linda. Could I take William with me? There's a place I want to take him. I said, and Linda tilted her head, but soon laughed. Sure, since you couldn't go on the trip, you must want to create some memories at the airport at least. She took on an even more mocking attitude. If it were the old me, I would have been irritated by this attitude. But now Linda's words didn't bother me at all, because the revenge play had already begun. I parted ways with the son and his wife and took William to our new home. William seemed puzzled by the different destination, but trusting me, he complied. After explaining the future plans at the new house, William expressed his willingness to follow me, saying, "If that's what you decided, I'll go along with it." Just like my husband. In about 30 minutes, the son and his wife would probably arrive at our former home. By then, it was likely already sold, and probably the locks were changed, so they wouldn't be able to enter the house. I couldn't help but smile, imagining their confusion. Looking forward to that moment, I soon received a call from Linda. "Laura, it's terrible! We can't get into the house!" Linda shouted frantically over the phone. In the background, it sounded like David was desperately trying to open the door. "Laura, where are you guys? Please come back quickly." Linda seemed unable to accept the situation, sounding panicked. I couldn't help but laugh. Everything was going according to plan. All of this was orchestrated by me. It's a punishment for people like Linda and David, who betrayed and were ungrateful to us, their family. I'm sorry, but I'm not coming back. That house isn't ours anymore. When I said this firmly, Linda shouted, "What do you mean by that?" I patiently explained to her, unaware of what was happening. "Listen, I sold that house. It was tough because I had to clean it. Now William and I are in a new home. I didn't think I could do all this in a week, so I guess I'm lucky." "What? You did all that on your own and you think it's okay? We're family." "Family?" She left me behind saying I wasn't family. When it's convenient for her, she treats me as family, trying to bring about a self-centered outcome. Such cunning and selfishness made me sigh deeply. As if shocked by that, Linda blurted out in a panic, "What's all this about? If you have something to say, just say it." Since she asked, maybe it's my duty to answer. I decided to speak my mind. "Family? Don't be ridiculous. You were the one who excluded me from the family. Remember, you said I wasn't family, so you wouldn't take me on the trip? And now you want my help and treat me like family? Isn't that too convenient? To live off someone's support and have the nerve to say that." Linda tried to respond to my words. "Don't say such terrible things. We're really in trouble. Please, I beg you, help us." Her voice was filled with panic and anxiety. She was genuinely asking for our help. That's how her voice sounded. The old me might have reached out as family, but she on the other end of the phone was not family, so there was no need to help. "I'm sorry, but give up. No matter what you say, my heart won't be moved. That's how much I've given up on you. It's useless no matter how hard you try." I said this and hung up the phone. Then Linda and David called and messaged countless times. It was so annoying that I blocked their numbers. They don't know where we've moved, so they can't contact us anymore. But I can learn about their situation through relatives. After being kicked out of the house, the son and his wife had a huge fight. Linda, feeling she couldn't go on with David, proposed a divorce that day and went back to her parents' house. But her parents were furious at her actions. She wasn't allowed in the house and was kicked out. Even if she wanted to reunite with David, he had already filed for divorce and found a new place, making contact impossible. David regrets his actions and inquires about us through relatives. I've already informed the relatives, so no information about us gets back to him. He seems genuinely concerned about whether we are doing well. What David did is not forgivable. But I sympathize with his inability to act on his own opinions, always scolded by Linda. I'm thinking of giving him a chance to be part of the family again if he truly shows remorse. For now, I will not do anything and just observe David's behavior through relatives. If possible, I would like to take a new step as a family. I want to watch over him carefully and as a mother.